On the show.
All right, we are live for the 21st episode of Dads and Ed. We are officially legal. We can host this show without parental improvement. Nice. We were a tad bit nervous as to why Brent was playing with the sound effects earlier, but that was well placed. My name is Josh, your humble host. Excited to be here for the 21st time. Hopefully we'll be here all night. You never know how tech issues are going to go. 3 wonderful kids. The youngest just turned 2, along with her 4- and 6-year-old siblings. A beautiful wife, technology integration specialist, Ed Camp Omaha organizer, Your Need of Board of Directors. And I am super excited. We have a special guest introducer for the second time in a row. Gracie, go ahead.
My name's Claire, actually.
Oh, wow. I am so sorry, Claire. My fault.
Okay, you're fine. Okay, anyways, I have a wonderful dad. Go Giants. Anyways, I have a wonderful mom. I have an older sibling named Gracie. She's 10 years old. And I have a bird named Yoshi. He's really annoying. And I have 2 dogs named Miley and Buster.
I was going to try to help you with that because I knew it was wrong once you said it, but I thought I'd let her see. I was curious to see what she would do. Nice Giants gear there.
For those of you listening on the podcast, you can't see Devin showing off his Giants jersey, as I totally botched that introduction of the introducer. My apologies. So I think, Devin, we got you covered, and we'll talk more about your gear.
I'm covered.
So, Brent,
This
on
is
to you.
classic. Good stuff. Yes, Brent Catlett here from Independence, Missouri, in the Kansas City area, Director of Technology and father of 4 kids and 1 on the way in February. Amazing wife and mother to my children, and just living the dream.
Nice. Well, if you'd like to connect with the show, we will have Curt Rees on here shortly. You can connect with the show anytime. Twitter is @DadsandEd. You can use the hashtag #DadsandEd, all one word. And feel free to email us. No one really does, so I'm not going to give that out. If you missed part of the show or you think it's so great you want to share with someone else, you can go to dadsanded.podbean.com. All the audio is there. You can also subscribe in iTunes. So every Tuesday morning after the show, I show up at work, I open iTunes, podcast download, Dads and Ed is right there, so I can listen to how wonderful we are. So subscribe in iTunes, just search Dads and Ed. Our water cooler topic for this week. Last week we talked about a little something happening in Kansas City with Brent. And so let's talk about that thing in Kansas City. Brent, before we turn it over to Devin, would you like to say anything?
Well, you know what? Yeah, I would, because the Royals had a heck of a run. One of the most impressive playoff runs I've seen in a long time in baseball. And as a baseball fan, it was fun to see. It was fun to be a part of here in the city. I mean, the city was just buzzing, and a lot of fun to be listening to the local sports radios and stations and things. So, hey, Giants, hats off to them, though. They did a fantastic job. I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for Bumgarner, I don't know if they win the series, but that guy just killed us. And but he was awesome, and the Giants did a great job. So it was a great series, fun to see. So I'm glad I didn't take any bets, as Darren Swinson was trying to talk Devin and I into something, because I would have lost it and had to shave my head or something crazy. So I'm glad I didn't do that.
It was a lot of fun, though. You know, the games were fun. You talk about the Royals making an impressive run to the World Series, and it's true. You know, this is probably the only scenario in which I wouldn't have rooted for the Royals in the World Series. But you talk about an impressive run. That's 3 out of 5 for the Giants. 3 every even year since 2010, 10, 12, and 14. It's a heck of an impressive run. And you mentioned Bumgarner. The guy was just a beast. I mean, he was unhittable. And has been his entire career in the postseason. But man, that was just one of the most impressive individual performances I think I've ever seen in, I don't know, maybe any sport.
Yeah, it really was impressive. Like when they were talking about bringing him in the Game 7, I thought, is this guy really going to do this? And then he came in and just continued to mow us down, and I was like, man, what an impressive feat, you know? I mean, he single-handedly won them 3 games, darn near.
I agree. It was nice to see how close it got. Former Husker Alex Gordon on third base, 2 outs in the 7th, and my wife and I were sitting there as he walks up to the plate, and we've obviously followed him for quite a while, playing at Nebraska, and he was with the Omaha Royals for a while, now the Omaha Storm Chasers, and so we're just sitting there thinking, can you imagine, and we've all played it in our backyard where, we're in the backyard with 2 outs, bottom of the 9th, in Game 7 of the World Series, but to actually be there and, in that spot, and for him to come up with a triple, I just thought was amazing. So, Brent, should Jersley have sent him home?
Boy, that's tough. I kind of wish he had. I don't know. Sometimes when you press a play like that, something good will happen, or the other team will. I don't know. That was the talk around here for sure. That was one of those things where it's kind of like, should they have? And Jersley, as you know, was in Omaha for how many years, Josh? I mean,
a lot,
great coach.
Long time. Yep.
But that guy's been around. I feel like forever. I've known the guy, and so I don't blame him. I hate when stuff like that happens. And I wouldn't say down here overall that that's ever been overly played up, but just it definitely has been discussed. As like a should they have? I wish they had. I wish he would have, but then again, I don't. Looking at the play, I thought when it was watching it live, I thought, no, don't send him. But then, who knows if he does? What happens? He probably gets. If he's thrown out, of course, then they're complaining and saying, why'd you send him? So,
right. Yep.
I mean, you can't win for losing.
Yeah, and it really was. I mean, Crawford, the shortstop, had the ball when Alex Gordon was at third base. It wasn't like he was rounded already and he was heading home. I mean,
right.
He would have. The thing that you say, Brent, is a valid point though. When you do something like that, you put a little pressure on the team to make a play. It seemed like it was going to be a fairly easy throw to at least get it there in time to make the tag. But the other piece to that is you're going against a guy who you have barely gotten hit against in about 20 innings in the World Series, more than that. So what are the odds of getting 2 in a row, I guess?
Right.
Right.
Well, and the other thing, he should have been on third. He should have been on second. But the Giants bobbled the ball in the outfield. So you talk about, making the routine play. Does the shortstop overthrow it? Does he get too geeked up and throws it too high? You never know. I probably wouldn't have sent him. I don't think he was fast enough to make it.
Yeah.
If it was, you got to expect that the shortstop for the San Francisco Giants in Game 7 of the World Series, he's there because he's legit and he's going to make that throw. So, yeah, you can't blame Jersley. I think it was the right call.
Yeah.
How bad would it be if the guy's thrown out by 20 feet?
Yeah.
He has the ball and Posey's standing there waiting for him to just kind of walk into home.
Because Salvador Perez was up, right, next?
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's been raking for a catcher lately, so.
And he had a home run. He had a home run off Bumgarner in Game 1 in a kind of a meaningless spot, but still had a good swing against him for a home run. So I don't know. It's a tough call. I think they made the right call. I don't think I would have sent him either. But boy, it doesn't hurts to have the tying run 90 feet away at the end of the game too.
Yep. Switching over a little bit. Halloween was this weekend. Favorite Halloween costume you saw? Not on your kid. While you guys think about that, since I have been thinking about it because I wrote the question in my head, we have a kid who is in a wheelchair somewhere in the neighborhood. I don't know exactly where they live. Last year, they dressed his wheelchair up as a race car, and his parents were the pit crew. This year, they made it into a fighter jet, and the parents dressed up in full flight gear, and the dad had the orange cones to guide the plane in as they were coming in for a landing to get candy. Nice. It was so awesome. It was good. So it's pretty cool to see ideas they come up with every year. So that had to be my favorite.
That's awesome. I couldn't top that. That's pretty awesome. I was back in Omaha actually for Halloween night. My family, my wife put on a 60th birthday party for her parents, like kind of a combined surprise 60th. So I took the kids trick-or-treating back in my old neighborhood where I grew up. It's kind of sad, how that stuff evolves. Like when I was a kid, every house light was on, and that was not the case the other night. And I can't say I really even seen a lot of other kids, to be honest with you, Josh. I don't have a whole lot to go off of. My only thing would be I'm going to default back to my daughter's preschool here in Kansas City. I got a text picture from my wife at one point on their Halloween party day with her and like 3 other Elsas. So there was a total of 4 of them standing there. It was pretty cute. So I'll have to go with that as my. It's not exactly unique, but it was pretty cool.
I saw there was a pretty good kid walking around in like a horse costume around Underwood that was pretty good. Had the whole back behind him, and it was pretty good. Not because it was all that original, but it was just well done, and the kid was playing it off pretty well. I will say my oldest daughter, I think I mentioned this last time we were together, maybe she was Michael Jackson for Halloween. I'm surprised, how many people. There were a lot of, the adults loved the costume, and the kids were like, "Who are you, Elvis? Are you Prince?" Like, no one picked every person other than Michael Jackson, but it was pretty cool. What I did do, my oldest is 10. I took her and 4 friends over to a haunted house, to Mystery Manor. So when you get an opportunity to have a 10-year-old girl and 4 of her friends and you to take them to a haunted house, I suggest you don't do it. You have someone else do it and record it and then get it back to you, because it was interesting. It was a lot of fun, but 4 or 5 screaming 10-year-olds was a bit much.
Glad you made it back.
Glad I did too. I wasn't sure.
Did you guys see Hopow's son, the one that he created for the Minecraft, Steve, I think is the name of the character? Yeah. That was pretty impressive. I saw that on Instagram. I thought, wow, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Hopow's was good. His son Steve was really good.
I would agree. That was a good one. Moving on, Dad Moment of the Week. We actually had a Thanksgiving already. Halloween's over with. Walmart's got the Christmas stuff up already. My good friend Corey Dahl said, because it's snowing out in western Nebraska, that's his excuse for listening to Christmas music. But we went ahead and had another Christmas here, or not Christmas, a Thanksgiving this weekend. My sister lives out west, and so this was the only time she was going to be back, so we got the family together. And we don't have a lot of trees in our neighborhood because we live in a newer neighborhood. And my parents live in a much, much older neighborhood, and so they had a ton of leaves in the backyard that all fall off the trees. So we took the opportunity to make a huge leaf pile and got all the kids to jump and dive in. And it was great to be able to do something that we cannot do just for lack of trees. We could probably get a whole bunch of corn and pile that up, but leaves are a little bit more fun to dive into. So it was fun to see all the kids, anywhere from 7 to 3, I think, make a running start and dive in the pile. And I took the opportunity to grab my iPhone and the slow motion camera. I hadn't used that before, so which is very slick if you ever get a chance to use it. But that was my dad moment of the week.
Go ahead, Devin.
All right, I'm gonna go back a couple of weeks. So the last time we had a show, actually, I was in Mason City, Iowa for a funeral. My wife's grandma died, and both girls, but especially Gracie, who's a little older, she'd only met her a handful of times, but man, she was just attached to her, and it was sad to see, her kind of this emotion hit her. She knew about it and she was sad, and then we get there and we have all the family stuff and we have the visitation, and to see it kind of finally hit her just as the visitation is ending, just the tears, and there's nothing. I don't think there's any worse feeling than seeing your kids hurting, and it was hard to see her act, kind of respond like that, but I would expect it. And it was cool to see her kind of grow up a little bit, even more over the weekend. I keep saying that as a 10-year-old, she's looking older and older and acting older and older, and it was just kind of a obviously a somber weekend with the funeral, but it's always, I think, interesting to see our kids kind of go through things like that. This was kind of the first time she had to go through losing someone that she really knew at all. So it was a tough couple of days for them, especially for the kids and for my wife. But it was cool to see her there, and her there for her grandma, who lost her mom. So it was kind of a sobering couple of days, but it was kind of needed. I'm glad we ended up going up and that the girls had a chance to do that.
Brent, go ahead.
I'd have to go with my little guy. He really likes this little Thomas book right now, where it's got these little pop-ups that you kind of just, with your finger or thumb, you kind of pull down that go along with the story, and a little pop-up thing comes up above, and he giggles and laughs kind of like every time, just like, don't matter. And I could do it 3 times in a row, and he'll giggle, and it just warms my heart. And so I love it. I love that I can sit there and read books with him, and he laughs, and he thinks it's fun, and he kind of brings it to me now, and it's like his favorite book. And so from that standpoint, I got to go with that for me, and I kind of continually do it with him. So it's a multiple dad moment of the week thing for me this time.
Nice job. All right, friends. We are so excited to be joined by the esteemed Curt Rees. Curt, quick question. Esteemed. Yeah. I'm trying new vocabulary words. I'm trying to branch out.
Huh.
I get paid by the syllable. As you know. So we're just talking about a little bit. We're talking about baseball. I'll let you pick who is the Giants fan in the group. Extra bonus points for that. Now that baseball is over, as Devin stretches to show off the Giants gear again, for those of you watching on the podcast, what are you most looking forward to now that winter is upon us, Curt?
Well, first let me talk about the Giants in the World Series. That's cute. What do you got? 3 or 4 World Series, Devin? Is that what you got? But just a second. But for those of us, the Yankees of the National League, we've got 11. So, that's keep up the good work, Giants.
I know. A lot of people would want to be the Yankees of the National League. I don't know if that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's because they keep winning. But I do. I am a Cardinals fan, but I do enjoy how the Giants play baseball. So they do it the right way.
Yeah.
And it was an entertaining series, and the Giants were just better than everybody they played.
So what are you looking forward to now that the World Series is over?
I'm looking forward to the Denver Broncos playing better than they played last night. That is for certain. Growing up in western South Dakota, that's who we had on TV was the Broncos. But then also living here in Wisconsin for the past 12 years, I just really enjoyed rooting for the Badger teams. Certainly basketball and football, they've been very successful in the time that I've lived here. So go Bucky.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on from that. One thing we didn't discuss, gentlemen, the Cubs hired Joe Madden, technically away from the Tampa Bay Rays. So, who goes back to the World Series first, Cubs or Royals? Cubs are on a 107-year drought. Royals are on a 2-week drought. Who goes back first? Brent?
I gotta say the Royals.
You have to, because then you that's who signs your checks.
Right. No, I think, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. I'm kind of an old Cubs fan too. Growing up in Omaha, you had WGN, you kind of had to choose the Cubs almost, So, and the Royals were right there, of course. Like I said earlier, Josh, like you mentioned with Gordon going down there from Nebraska, you kind of follow those type of players. And now being here in the city, it was fun, as I mentioned. But I wouldn't mind seeing the Cubs do well, but I don't know, boy. That might be the longest standing issue of trouble in baseball.
Curt, your vote?
I think the Cubs are on the rise, but Royals just look like they have it put together. So I think that they are more likely to go back to the World Series.
I'm gonna go with the Cubs for one reason only, and this has nothing to do with baseball. If you happen to see Madden being introduced today, he was a spitting image for a Harry Carey in his interview today.
Really?
The glasses, the hair, it was impressive, and they held it at a bar, and he bought everybody a shot and a beer afterwards. So I'm going to go with the Cubs only for that reason. Nothing to do with baseball.
I would have thought you would have picked the Royals, because if the Cubs go, that means the Giants are not there.
That's true, but you can't go every year. So if it has to be somebody else,
Yeah, the Giants won't win
Cubs
next
going
year because
for a while.
yeah, it's an odd year. So 2015, I don't think we'll
That's
see
right.
the Giants.
Yeah, only win in even years.
Mhm.
All right, Curt, let's back up a little bit. And if you would, tell us a little about yourself and a little bit about your family, what you do, all that good stuff.
Yeah, sure. I'll start with the job first. Not that it's most important, but I'm an elementary school principal in Onalaska, Wisconsin, and that's right on the Mississippi River here in southwest Wisconsin. So I've been principal at Northern Hills for the past. I'm in my 11th year at my current school right now, so I've always been an elementary person. But thinking about my family, so my wife Keely. And Josh, I know you're over there in the western part of Iowa, correct?
I work there. Devin actually lives there.
Okay, Devin. Okay, so my wife was born in Atlantic, Iowa, and her family still has a house over in on West Lake, Okoboji. So I spend a lot of time over there. It's a very nice part of the world. But then Keely and I, we have 2 kids. My son Gavin is in 7th grade, and he's 12 years old, and my daughter is Harper, and she's a 3rd grader and is 8 years old. So that's what keeps me happy and busy.
And I do have to say, I didn't realize this until after the fact. We were actually in Okoboji at the same time, I believe, this summer. After I got home, we actually have friends that live there, so we spend a weekend up there every so often. And I noticed after the fact through pictures that we were there at the same time.
Yeah, it's when people think about lake resorts, they don't often think about Iowa, but really it is a nice place. I'm not kidding at all.
It is. It's beautiful.
We Curt talk a lot on here, kind of about the meshing of being dads and also being educators. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how maybe your view on education has changed a little bit since you've become a dad. I don't know if you read Tony Sinanis had a great post today or yesterday, kind of an open letter to teachers about his son's education. I wonder how it's impacted you as a dad.
Yeah, so I've been in education longer than I've been a parent, and I'd say there's a positive relationship in both areas. That certainly interacting with kids in the classroom made me a lot better parent. I think I was much more prepared, but probably more so, I've become a lot better educator since I've been a parent, and I just feel, especially in the role of being a principal, I'm so much more empathetic to kids, especially when kids aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing or what we would hope they would. I don't have perfect kids, and I don't know that I want perfect kids anyway. But certainly with some of the parents I interact with, it's so helpful to know exactly what they're going through, especially at the end of the school day, and I got to grab a mom or a dad just to talk about some issue that happened. And they don't want to talk to me about this stuff, but I feel like since I've been through it myself, I can just say, hey, you know what, this isn't the worst thing in the world, but just knowing you as a mom or dad, I'm sure you would want to know. So I certainly feel like being a parent has helped me become a much more empathetic educator.
Brent.
Sorry, my signal's kind of bad, gentlemen. I'm bouncing around here. I'm trying to keep up. I'm a little delayed. I apologize.
Curt, if you've seen any of our shows, one of us has computer troubles every week.
Yeah.
Brent, this is Brent's first Dad's and Ed in the new house. So,
and it ain't working out so good. I'll be back at work next time. Yeah, even got a new company here, but yeah, it's not working out very well. But no, I was just catching that, and Curt, I completely agree with you from the standpoint of having my own children and being a previous principal, and what a difference that made. For me too, just in the with different educators and involved with lots of things online. I'm following you on Twitter for a long time. Have you struggled with the balance at all? I know that's something that most recently in the last show in particular I spoke a lot about, but have you struggled at all with the balance of being the connected educator, which I would consider you, and then that fatherhood piece as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly it has. Just because the whole connectivity piece in the world of education, I mean, it's 24/7 if you let it. And I think parenting also has 24/7 expectations. So there'll be many times when I catch myself, whether it's I'm on my way to the dinner table because tech isn't allowed at the dinner table, but I'll be like coming there because I'm looking at a tweet or a Voxer message, or even possibly an email. While I'm certainly interested in the messages and information that's being shared, as a connected educator, it's constantly important for me to check myself to make sure that I'm paying attention to my family who's right there in my physical presence. So, I love it all. Love being a parent. Love the connected education piece, but just have to pay attention to where you're at and who wants your attention at that time.
That seems to be a topic that we can bring up with a lot of people, and we all kind of have that same struggle, and like Brent said, it's been a big discussion with a lot of people that we've had on here. It's a never-ending battle. One of the other things we wanted to bring up is you were talking about, you had posted a blog post about the Integrate Ed conference, and you talked a little bit about the role that play has in education. Would you expand on that a little bit, or tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and so the keynote, so Integrate Ed is a series of conferences put on by OETC, which is a professional development and purchasing consortium out of Oregon. And I've gone to several of their conferences, and they're really well done, and I enjoy attending them. And then I was able to present this past year. But the keynote speaker that was in San Francisco at the beginning of October this past, just last month, was Peter Gray, and he's a professor emeritus at Boston College University, and his work is in the area of about how kids and people learn just through play, unstructured situations, and so it was really fascinating to think about, because I think too often in school we're too busy trying to fill the heads of our kids rather than just letting them experience things on their own and learn. So Dr. Gray, one thing that's really interesting is that he studies a lot of like hunter-gatherer cultures. So those places like in the mountains of Indonesia and then in the Amazonian rainforest, where they're untouched by modern society, and they don't have schooling, and the parents aren't intentional about what they teach their kids. They just let their kids learn through experience. So for example, if a little one picks up a machete, well, they don't sit down and teach them all the rules about being safe with a machete. No, they're like, okay, there's a sharp side, and then there's the side that you carry it on, and if the kid picks it up the wrong way, they're going to learn from it. Not that I'm in favor of handing out machetes at Northern Hills Elementary School, but I think it's a good concept. But then also just letting kids interact with one another just to learn social rules. So that was his keynote, and it really made me think a lot about how we try to do school to kids instead of just letting them figure things out. Where I think we should set up our schooling environments so that kids are able to investigate what they're most interested in and learn from that, rather than trying to tell them what they should know. Because too many of our students, and even our teachers, are not engaged just because of that type of system that we have for school.
Do you find, that's interesting, do you find that once you have, kind of meshing these worlds again, but once you go to something like that and hear a message like that about play, being the example here, that you try and do or set up experiences like that for your kids at home even more. Like I think that as parents we try and do that anyways, but then you hear this really great thing. We know how important something like play is, that you go home automatically like, okay, I'm going to set up something now for my kids to do because that's so important.
Yeah, and certainly that's it's a lot easier to do at home for my wife and I than it is at school, because we have all these expectations from my school district and from the state about what needs to happen in school. And they write my paycheck, so I can't mess around too much there. But with my own kids, we're able to say, all right, what do you want to do today? I'm like, I don't know, what do you want to do? And then just turn them loose, and rather than trying to sit down and force them to do some craft project that they may not want to do, I can just let them go in the backyard, or just say, all right, come back in 2 hours and go have fun. Well, what is it we're supposed to do? I don't know. I don't care. Just be safe. So much easier to do as a parent than it is as a school leader for me.
Yeah, I've struggled with that a little bit. I think of some things recently, like we had Dean Sharesky come to NETA in Nebraska, and there was some comments he made that resonated with me on some facets. And then in my new district, I've run into kind of almost the polar opposite of what he said. And here I was, like, kind of picking up everything that the guy was putting down, and then I walked into this new situation this year, and it was like almost the antithesis of what he was saying, and I was like, God, how do I handle this? I've struggled with that mightily at times, like with the element of being connected and armed with the information that we're armed with makes it very difficult for me, to be honest with you. I've been really struggling with that the last few months. Maybe it's partially my new position, but all, how do I make that happen? The game maybe as far as you are, Curt, but so it's interesting to think about what that might look like as they get older too.
Well, think about how we learn as adults, especially like when you go to a conference. Is it when you sit down in that session, or think of the last time you went to a life-changing PD event within your school district. It probably hasn't been a life-changing PD event, but the conversations that you have at lunch, and then if you're off to a conference, think about what happens over happy hour or in the evening. All those fun events, because for the most part, educators, we're talking shop all the time, because that's what we choose to do. And I think too often we forget that learning is such a social thing, and where we try to individualize education so much, where we just tell kids what they need to know, or make them learn it on their own. Whereas if you put people together and make it a fun and engaging environment, just a conversation activity that they have together, will just increase their learning so much. And I think that's how we learn as adults, but we lose sight of that for our students.
Speaking of fun and engaging, you've been talking about taming your email lately. I am a huge believer in Inbox Zero, and I absolutely love it. So with that in mind, how can school leaders be intentional about how they communicate with their staff, whether it's through email or other means?
Yeah, and that's, number one is don't let email dictate your schedule and your calendar. There's so many things that show up in our email. Don't feel like you have to respond with email. Sometimes email is just a good reminder. So for me, if anything, if I'm responding to an email and I find myself in paragraph number 2, I stop, and then I'll call that person, or I'll go visit them, or just send them a quick message and say, hey, I'm going to give you a call at 3 o'clock, whatever it happens to be. Because too often, and this is the same for me too. While I do get to Inbox Zero quite a bit, I'll find myself spending too much time in my office responding to email, when you could much more efficiently and effectively and emotionally take care of whatever happens to be the content of the email, not in email. Again, that's going to visit someone or picking up the phone. So that's what school leaders need to do, is just think about the value of your time. Are you paid to sit in your office and type emails, or are you paid to be a leader? So think about your own time, but then also the time of others. Don't expect a whole bunch of emails. And I'll often say this in something I send out. It's like, I may have some thoughts I need to share, and I want people to think about it. And I'll say, okay, here's my message. Give me a call about this sometime, and I'll make sure I end my email with that. It's like, hey, don't spend a lot of time replying. Just give me a ring, or we'll talk about this when I see you on Tuesday.
I've with being in a new district this year, one of the things that I've been communicating is that if I email you something, it's because I don't need an answer right now. We can talk about it later. It's just I don't want to interrupt whatever you're doing. Throwing that out there as an FYI, but like you said, I kind of use it as a jumping off point too. And if I'm going out working at the district level, if I'm going out to a building, I will email the staff, and that gives me an idea of who I can go talk to or who's doing what, and places for me to stop by. So, but
And I think.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I think on Iowa Ed Chat on Sunday we were talking about communication, and it was kind of the topic. And I think what happens a lot of times, it seems like people, you almost need this degree in communications to be able to do this effectively, and they will send, I have folks in my district who will get 20 or 30 emails from their principals in high school in a day. And it's just like, what we've tried to talk about is just how do you find the right mode of communication for the right message. Email has become meaningless to almost everybody in that building now, because they disregard all of it because they're getting so many every day. And so whatever the mode of communication is going to be, whether it is email or whether it's a call or whether it's a Google community or whatever it is, it seems like what we need to find a balance there is how do I find the right mode or right medium for the message that I want to get across to the people that I work with, whether it's from principal to teacher, teacher to teacher, teacher to student. We kind of inundate people with messages.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I try not to send too many separate emails to my staff because the ones I do send out, I want them to pay attention to. So I will just the weekly newsletter that I send out to them, I just use Google Sites, and then all of those little tidbits, those individual messages that aren't greatly important, but yet I want them to know about. I'll just cut and paste those into my Google site, and then it'll just be a weekly newsletter I send out to them. Plus, the beauty of that it's so searchable. If they can't remember exactly what day I sent it, if they just use the search feature in the Google site page, they can find what it was.
And a real quick thing with that, just because you mentioned it earlier, you mentioned a few different things. You mentioned, whether you're checking a box or you're getting email or it's Twitter. What's kind of your current favorite way to communicate with people, whether it's professional or personal? Do you have a favorite right now? I know Voxer is one that people are using a lot right now for all kinds of different purposes. Do you have one that you kind of like better than the others right now?
Yeah, two. I'll mention just the chat feature of Google Hangout, which I really enjoy. So I'm in a doctoral program right now, and we have such a vibrant connection with one another, and there's just a constant back channel, just with messages going, through the chat feature of Google Hangout. Some of it is just silly and worthless, but at the same point, so important. But then it could be just connecting with one another about assignments. But then, I really enjoy Voxer too. Twitter is a great way just to make initial connections, but I really like Voxer because you truly do get a chance to know one another. I'm not an advocate of anyone having a Voxer message more than 1 minute. That's where it needs to stop right there. Because if it's more than 1 minute, then it's a podcast, and we don't need any more.
That's a podcast.
But it just being able to hear someone's the tone of their voice and just what they sound like. I really enjoy that. So Voxer and Google Hangout, those would be my two favorite tools right now.
Cool. Brent,
Brent, you want to go?
I was just going to comment on sorry, it's catching up here. I was just going to comment on, it's funny you say that, a minute long, more than a minute long, it should be a podcast of Voxer. That's hilarious. I would agree there. I love it for the fact I can hear a voice, but it's that same thing. And I don't know, it's almost like our society, we're just so wanting quick, and that's kind of the beauty of a Twitter feed or, so yeah, in some senses, I love Voxer, but then there's that element of it going too long maybe, and I've been debating about getting the premium features. Do you have premium, Curt, or are you just using the free features?
No, I do have a pro account. Joe Mazza had some connection with the Voxer folks, and I got a pro account. And I don't know exactly what else it gives me compared to the free account. I think I can add more people to a chat. I love Voxer, but don't pay for it.
Yeah.
Okay. I just was curious. I was throwing that around.
I will say I do pay for it for not two reasons. One, the other thing you can do is change your username, which is not a reason to buy it, obviously. but we use it. I'm on the state ed tech board, and we use it as a way to communicate during our big conference. And so the part you mentioned about adding more people, we have more than 15 people that are in our Voxer chat. So it was,
is that what the number is, Josh? Is it 15?
I think it's 15.
Okay, because that's why I was wondering. I've been meaning to ask you guys if you knew, because I've been throwing it around in my department, and I've got 21 people, but I don't know if I need it for that many, or if I could just break it into the different groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say 15 is the number, and then it's a couple bucks a month. I think it's 24 a year, 20 a year, or something like that. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's the only. We needed someone to manage the NIDA one, and so I just signed up there. So.
Gotcha. Hey, Kurt. I was gonna say.
No.
I can go on to
Go ahead, Brent.
Techlandia podcast. But tell us about that. A little plug for that. I know you guys do a lot of awesome stuff with that.
Yeah, sure. So Techlandia was something that John Samuelson started. And I think like the first episode maybe was like end of December or early January in 2013. So that was something that we had going for a year and a half. And I met John and Allison face to face out in Portland in February of 2013. And so they'd done a few episodes and they asked me to join them. And it was I really enjoyed it. It was the first podcast that I was regularly involved in. And probably like how you guys do your show, it isn't greatly scripted or anything like that. So it's like it's a natural, and that's a compliment because it's it's just a real natural conversation. And it's a lot of fun, and met some really cool people through doing Techlandia. But then especially John and Allison, just fantastic people. John is so creative and he's got a great sense of humor, and Allison is just one of the kindest people that I've ever known. Every time I'm out in Portland, it is almost impossible to pay for your own meal or your own beverage because Allison is so quick to grab that bill, and she's like just the best host in the world. But then also getting to know Tim Lauer when I've been out in Portland, which is where Techlandia kind of came from, the TV show Portlandia, which is very entertaining. So I really enjoyed doing that, and I got to meet a couple guys this summer who were both guests on Techlandia, and that would be Brett Clark and Kyle Pace. I know Kyle's a Royals fan.
He's a Kansas City guy.
Yeah, he's a Kansas City guy, so it was fun to see those two guys this summer. They've both been on Techlandia, so I really enjoyed it. And the past few episodes that we've recorded haven't come out yet, but both Allison and I are stepping away. We're retiring. We're going in the Ring of Honor for Techlandia, and it just comes down to time. And I still talk with John and Allison, frequently through Voxer, but also through Twitter too. But it was very enjoyable. Got to feel like Jimmy Fallon or Oprah, with some of the interviews that we got to do.
Well, I have to do a quick follow-up. Techlandia is really an inspiration to Dads and Ed. We leaned on John quite a bit as we were getting started and just trying to figure out how to do stuff. And I had met John. I met him a couple times at a couple different events, and he was most gracious to kind of let us in on some of the how-to secrets, and we definitely listened to you guys to get some ideas and kind of guest ideas too, obviously, and so we appreciate the Techlandia series that you guys had.
Yeah. Now, did John come out to Ed Camp Omaha one time? Because I remember him talking about Brent, and I do remember.
No, Brent and I met John in Atlanta at a EdTech teacher event. iPad Summit down there. He actually didn't. That's right. Yeah, it was the one he didn't go to.
Yeah, it was like Carl Hunter's group kind of thing. Okay. I do remember. That's actually also where the underscore posse started. Which, as you know, we can't talk about the underscore posse. But in Atlanta, I got to meet John down there, and I met him somewhere else. I wonder if it was Ed Camp KC. I can't remember now. I'll have to figure that out. But yeah, we've him and I've met. Yeah,
maybe it's Isty. I don't know. Whatever.
I think it's Isty maybe, but
good times. One more hard-hitting question, then we'll get into the rest of the evening. What do you think impacts the other most? being a dad on education or being an educator on being a dad?
I think that is such an individual, personal question. It's hard to say, but I'll answer for me, and definitely it's been being a parent has made me a much better educator, and as I talked about before, it just makes me so much more empathetic, especially for the families. Just because I've walked. So I'm 41 years old, so a lot of the parents that I have coming through my school now are younger than me. So it's been an interesting shift to see happen in the past few years. So a lot of the things that they're going through with their first and second graders, I've been through twice now with both of my kids. But that being said, I know some fantastic educators who don't have their own children. So I certainly don't want anyone to think that if you don't have your own kids, you can't have a wonderful impact on students, because it just isn't the case. But I don't know. I'm very thankful to be a dad, because I know it's made me a much better resource and advocate for the students and parents at my school.
Good. Curt, we really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us. We have a couple more things. Speaking of Techlandia, we have somewhat stole this idea from Techlandia about sharing an app and a Twitter follower, and we added in date night, being dads type of thing. Do you have time to stick around for a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I'll be happy to hang out.
Awesome. All right, up first, Mr. Catlett, with your app and website of the week.
Yes. I didn't prepare much for this, but I was thinking about today, when you said something about it, Josh, earlier, I was like, okay, what do I got? So I'm helping a kindergarten teacher in my district, who got 10 iPads in a grant, and she has a student teacher. They call them MU Fellows down here, for Missouri University Fellows, and so she's got one of them working with her, and from what I understand, they're pretty solid folks, and she shared an app with me called Bitsboard, and I haven't tried it yet. I have downloaded it, but I haven't used it yet. But she kind of showed me, essentially, you could create all these multiple types of boards, if you will, for, almost like flashcards' sake, for studying purposes, and kind of little mini quizzes for the kids, and you could customize it. It looked pretty good. I'll tweet it out on the Dads and Ed hashtag here, but she bragged it up and wanted me to have our guy put it on the iPad, so I told her I would. And from what she showed me, it looked really great. And like I said, honestly, I haven't had time to delve into it. But from her recommendation, I'd say it's worth it. It's free. So might be something worth looking into. Bitsboard. I will tweet that out.
Well done. Curt, what's your... we talked a little bit about your favorite tool, but as far as learning in the classroom, what are your teachers using now? What are they excited about?
My teachers really like the News ELA, or Newsela, however you pronounce it, so NEWSELA, and I see that it's no longer always free, so I think that's a good sign. I think that means that it's a very viable site, but my teachers have used that a lot in the past year and a half, and it's just a fantastic site, especially to bring current events and nonfiction reading to kids, so you can have the same topic, but you can dial up or down the reading level just to make it readable to all the students in your class. I really like that one a lot, just because I see my teachers enjoying it so much. More than enjoying it, I mean actually using it and helping kids learn.
Nice. Devin.
Yeah, it is a bummer that it's not totally free. It was one of those that I kind of kept holding on, like, can't imagine this is going to stay free forever, but we've got a ton of teachers using that too. So a couple of quick Twitter follows for me. The first one, I'm going to give a shout out to Josh. Josh just got all the Lewis Central social media platforms up and running in his new district. Didn't have any, so the Lewis Central CSD Twitter handle, Lewis Central CSD on Instagram, and the Lewis Central Facebook page. So I know it was a long time coming, and he wanted to get it done when he got there, and he did a great job of getting all that set up. The other one I'm going to give really quick is to a teacher in my district. She's a high school English teacher. Samantha Adams is her name, and I'm going to tweet out her her handle. But the reason I'm sharing hers is I started a blogging challenge in our district for the month of November. And she has just kind of taken off with it. She's got 3 posts in 3 days, and they're all really good. And so I'm going to tweet out her blog too, because she's kind of got that started. She's taking grad classes right now. She's a great teacher, and she would be a really great follow. She's trying more and more to connect and to get herself more connected, which has happened a little bit through her grad program, but also something that we've tried to work on together. She's we have model technology classroom teachers. She's one of those, and she's also a model language arts teacher in high school. So Sam Adams, which is a great name, by the way, but Sam Adams is the teacher, and I'll tweet out her Twitter handle and also her blog.
Nice. Curt, anyone that we need to know about that we should be following?
A lot of these guys, guys and ladies, as I listed in the doc there, but maybe one guy who deserves a little more attention is Jeff Zoll, and he's probably not the most active person on Twitter, but Jeff is kind of an associate superintendent in a school district in suburban Chicago, and I just really enjoy him. Very smart guy, and he's just doing a lot of fantastic things for his students and his teachers and his school community. So I think, is he an _mafia kind of guy? I'll have to find his Twitter handle here in just a second.
If he is, he's good people.
Jeff _Zoul, Z-O-U-L. Good guy. He needs more followers than what he has.
He's good. Yep.
Well, we might get him 3. How's that? +3? The plus.
Yeah, and you know what Jeff really likes? He loves advice on fantasy football, especially on the start for quarterbacks.
I'm 1-7. I don't think I should give him any advice.
Yeah. So here's my humorous part about Jeff is he was asking about who he should start for quarterback the past couple of weeks. He had Phillip Rivers or Ben Roethlisberger, and I said, you know what, definitely go with Phillip Rivers, and I was serious. Ben Roethlisberger has set fantasy football records the past 2 weeks. So sorry, Jeff.
Right.
And Rivers got pulled with 3 interceptions. So.
I would be better at fantasy football if I would check it. That apparently seems to be helpful. I did start the Miami defense this week, so I was pretty excited about that, and I still lost. So I did have to pick up a new starting quarterback after Nick Foles busted up his collarbone. So I am riding the Carson Palmer train right now, hoping that that keeps going.
Eric Crouch wasn't available. Taylor Martinez? No?
Yeah.
Wow. Taylor Martinez is an app developer. Did you know that? Fun fact. He's got 2 apps in the App Store.
No kidding?
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
You know what? I have Apper Side of the Week. So tune in 2 weeks to see Taylor Martinez's app. I got to find the links. I know there's 2. Neither are worth a darn, but we'll share them next week. Date night for me, I'm going to go a little bit off the board. I'm going to give a shout out to Scooter's Coffee. Scooter's Coffee is hands down my favorite coffee place here in town. They are somewhat nationwide. I wouldn't say every state, but I know that they go as far as Texas and Arizona. I'm a little bummed that Starbucks is the closest coffee shop to my office now. Scooters is quite a ways away, but the wife, the Peanut Gallery, as they are affectionately known, had a birthday here a while back, and so that is her favorite place to go as well. So I got her a little gift card to Scooters and give them a little bit of love today. So that's the date night.
Huh. There you go. Nicely done.
Yeah, every now and then. So we have come to the end of another wonderful evening. We are excited to announce that we are back in 2 weeks on November 17th. I hadn't really thought about this until now, but Devin hooked us up with another Giants fan for our next guest. I don't know if that's terribly a coincidence.
No.
But we are going to have author, educator, all-around nice guy John Spencer join us in 2 weeks. He is at Ed Rethink on Twitter, so he's going to be joining us. very excited about that. We'll probably talk a little bit of baseball still in 2 weeks, but oh well. Curt, thank you again. We do really appreciate your time. Appreciate you joining us. Best of luck, and we'll definitely be keeping in touch.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I greatly enjoy it, and I certainly appreciate all that you guys put out to the world, especially all the positive things that are going on with parenthood and education.
Thanks, Curt. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
All right.
Curt.
All right, we'll see everyone in 2 weeks.